One town in Pennsylvania has a violent crime rate more than triple any other city in the state. Let that sink in for a second. Now picture this, it's almost midnight, your fuel light just flicked on, your phone's dying at 4%, and your GPS calmly announces you're rolling into a town where police literally warn drivers, do not stop here. Do you pull over, or do you run on fumes and pray? Here's the chilling part. You've probably driven straight through one of these places without ever knowing it. 10 towns, real FBI crime data, and one shocking hidden pattern connecting every single one of them. A pattern that flips everything you think you know about where danger actually lives. Some of these names will surprise you. One of them might be closer than you'd ever expect. So before you plan your next road trip, watch this all the way to the end. Number 10, Johnstown. We open in the rugged mountains of Cambria County, where our countdown begins with a town that knows a thing or two about survival. Johnstown earned its place in the history books by enduring one of the deadliest floods in American history back in 1889, a wall of water that reshaped the town forever. But today, Johnstown battles a slower, quieter flood, the steady erosion of its economy after the steel mills fell silent. The numbers land at roughly 6.5 violent crimes and 32.8 property crimes per 1,000 residents, enough to open our list, but far from the extremes we'll reach later. What makes Johnstown fascinating is how concentrated the trouble is. Crime here doesn't sprawl across the whole town. It clusters in specific historic pockets like the Cambria City neighborhood, where empty storefronts and vacant homes create the kind of quiet, unwatched spaces where trouble tends to gather. Here's the encouraging twist, though. Johnstown isn't giving up. A riverfront redevelopment project aimed at breathing new life into the downtown corridor reportedly slashed crime in the revitalized zones by nearly 22%. That's not a small number. It's proof that when a community invests in its own streets, the streets respond. Cameras, better lighting, and foot traffic did what fear never could. So what does this mean for you, the traveler passing through on your way across the mountains? Honestly, Johnstown is perfectly fine to drive through by day, and its inclined plane, the steepest vehicular incline in the world, is genuinely worth a look. Traveler tip: if you stop, anchor yourself to the redeveloped downtown and the riverfront, where people, businesses, and cameras are thickest. Skip the empty side streets and the shadowed blocks of abandoned buildings, especially after dark. Fuel up near the main routes rather than deep in residential pockets. Treat Johnstown with ordinary big town caution, and it'll treat you just fine. Now let's head east, down to the banks of the Susquehanna. Number 9, Wilkes-Barre. Winding our way east, we arrive along the banks of the Susquehanna River in the heart of Pennsylvania's coal country, where Wilkes-Barre waits at number 9. This is a town with deep industrial bones, a place that once powered America with anthracite coal. And like so many towns on this list, its story is one of a proud past wrestling with a complicated present. The figures here sit at roughly 7.0 violent crimes and 34.2 property crimes per 1,000 residents. But the shape of that crime is what makes Wilkes-Barre so distinct and, honestly, so relatable. This isn't a place defined by dramatic violence. The pattern here is far more mundane and far more common. Petty theft concentrated in the downtown entertainment district, alongside drug-related offenses that tend to cluster near the river basin and the quieter fringes of the city center. Think about what that actually means for a moment. This is a nightlife crime profile, the kind of place where the biggest threat isn't to you, but to the car you parked while you grabbed dinner or caught a show. It's the smashed window, the missing bag, the rummaged glove box. And that's precisely why the Wilkes-Barre Police Department leaned into technology like license plate reader programs, because vehicle-related theft, not personal assault, is the headline problem they're fighting every single night. That distinction changes everything about how you should approach. You stop here. Traveler tip: the golden rule in Wilkes-Barre is simple. Never leave anything visible in your parked car. No bags, no chargers, no loose change glinting in the cup holder, not even an empty backpack that looks like it might hold something. Park in busy, well-lit lots close to open businesses, not on dim residential side streets. Downtown by day is walkable and pleasant. Just stay alert around the entertainment district late at night. Lockup, Look Sharp, and Wilkes-Barre is an easy stop. Next, we head to the Lehigh Valley. Number 8, Allentown. Rolling south into the Lehigh Valley, we reach Pennsylvania's third largest city and one of the busiest crossroads in the eastern half of the state, Allentown. Immortalized in a famous Billy Joel song about industrial hardship, Allentown carries both the energy of a genuine urban hub and the growing pains that come with rapid change and a shifting economy. It's a city on the move, and that movement is exactly where its risks live. The numbers here climbed to roughly 7.6 violent crimes and 35.9 property crimes per 1,000 residents. But here's what makes Allentown's crime profile so predictable and therefore so avoidable. It isn't scattered randomly across the map. Instead, it clusters tightly around transit hubs and multi-level parking garages, where the number one complaint, by a wide margin, is vehicle break-ins. These are the crimes of opportunity, the ones that thrive in the anonymous, half-empty concrete corners of a busy commuter city where thousands of cars sit unattended for hours at a stretch. There's a certain logic to it. A parking garage is the perfect hunting ground for a thief. Low foot traffic on the upper levels, plenty of cover, dozens of cars, and drivers who assume indoors automatically means safe. It doesn't. That false sense of security is exactly what gets exploited. So the strategy for passing through Allentown practically writes itself. Traveler tip: if you have to park in a garage here, be picky about it. Choose one with a live attendant and visible security cameras, and deliberately park on the busiest, most trafficked level, usually the ground or first floor near the entrance, rather than the quiet, tempting emptiness of the top deck. Never leave valuables in view, and if you can, park on a busy street in front of an open business instead. Allentown rewards the traveler who thinks like a thief for 30 seconds before walking away. Now, on to a town you already know by name. Number 7, Scranton. Yes, that's Scranton. For millions of people worldwide, this northeastern Pennsylvania city is forever linked to a certain paper company and a beloved television mockumentary. But long before the cameras rolled, Scranton was the beating heart of the anthracite coal industry, a boomtown built on hard work and hard rock. And beneath the sitcom fame lies a real city with real, measurable challenges that landed at number 7 on our countdown. The figures here sit at about 8.1 violent crimes and 37.4 property crimes per 1,000 residents. What sets Scranton apart from every other town we've covered so far, though, is a genuinely fascinating quirk. Its crime is, in a very real sense, seasonal. Nearly 25% of reported crime scenes here involve vacant properties, and incidents visibly spike in patterns tied to off-campus student housing and the ebb and flow of the academic calendar. When the university empties out, certain neighborhoods empty with it, and empty spaces, as we've seen again and again on this list, invite trouble. That seasonal, student-driven rhythm actually makes Scranton one of the more predictable and more manageable stops on our entire list. The danger isn't lurking everywhere. It's tied to specific, identifiable pockets of vacancy and transients that a smart traveler can simply steer around without much effort at all. And there's real momentum in the right direction. Investment along the main commercial spine has driven retail crime down nearly 19%, a sign that the core of the city is actively getting safer year over year. Traveler tip: Scranton is genuinely one of the safer towns here for a quick stop. Anchor yourself to Lackawanna Avenue in the vibrant University District where foot traffic, businesses, and cameras are concentrated. Steer clear of streets lined with visibly vacant or boarded up housing, especially at night. Grab a coffee, take in the historic architecture, and enjoy it. Next, we roll south to one of America's most historic and most contradictory small cities. Number 6, York. Heading south into the rolling farmland of south-central Pennsylvania, we arrive in York, a town so steeped in American history that it briefly served as the capital of the entire country during the Revolutionary War. This is where the Articles of Confederation were adopted. Cobblestone charm, colonial architecture, and centuries of heritage line its streets. And yet, York carries a reputation heavier than its postcard appearance would ever suggest, landing it squarely at number 6. The numbers here rise to about 8.9 violent crimes and 39.7 property crimes per 1,000 residents, a noticeable step up from the towns before it, and a reminder that history and hardship often occupy the very same streets. Concern in York centers on the downtown corridor, particularly along the historic Philadelphia street area, where lingering gang activity and drug-related offenses have long frustrated residents and police alike. It's the classic Pennsylvania pattern we keep seeing: a beautiful, walkable core shadowed by a handful of stubborn, concentrated hotspots. But here's the genuinely encouraging part of York's story. This is a community that is visibly fighting back and winning small battles. The deployment of high-definition security cameras across city parks and public spaces cut after-hours vandalism by a striking 21%. Even more telling, anonymous crime tips from residents jumped 28%. That second number matters enormously because it means the people of York aren't retreating behind locked doors. They're actively partnering with police to reclaim their own neighborhoods block by block. That kind of grassroots momentum is exactly what turns a dangerous town into a recovering one. Traveler tip: York's historic sites, museums, and Central Market are absolutely worth experiencing during the daytime. Stick to the walkable historic district when the shops are open and the streets are full. The key is timing and lighting. Avoid parking in dim, empty lots near the downtown core after nightfall, and keep valuables tucked away. Now we head to a place whose spot on this list that surprises almost everyone. Number 5, Harrisburg. Prepare for a genuine surprise because at number 5 sits the capital of Pennsylvania itself, Harrisburg. There's a bitter irony in the seat of state government, the place where public safety laws are literally written and signed, appearing this high on a list of the state's most dangerous towns. But the data doesn't care about irony, and the numbers here tell a story that catches nearly every traveler off guard. Harrisburg posts roughly 9.6 violent crimes and 41.2 property crimes per 1,000 residents. As with so many towns we've covered, though, that figure is dangerously misleading if you take it as a blanket description of the whole city, because Harrisburg's crime is intensely concentrated. The overwhelming majority of it clusters in the Allison Hill neighborhood, a historically underserved area east of downtown that has struggled with poverty and disinvestment for decades. Layered on top of that is a 12% multi-year rise in motor vehicle thefts, stretching outward along the Interstate 83 commuter lines that funnel thousands of cars in and out every day. That's the paradox of Harrisburg. Walk the Capital District, stroll Riverfront Park along the Susquehanna, or explore the museums and restaurants downtown, and you'll find a genuinely pleasant, well-patrolled, and revitalizing capital city, one where commercial renewal efforts have driven property offenses down by around 15%. The danger isn't in the postcard center. It's in the peripheral neighborhoods and along the commuter corridors where the city's investment hasn't yet reached. Understanding that geography is your single greatest safety tool here. Traveler tip: enjoy the Capitol complex and the riverfront with confidence. They're safe, scenic, and worth the stop. The smart move is to let your GPS route you along the main arteries and highways rather than accepting tempting shortcuts through unfamiliar residential neighborhoods. Lock your car, hide your valuables given the vehicle theft trend, and you'll experience the best of Harrisburg. Now we cross into the true danger zone of our list. Number 4, reading. We now cross a threshold. Everything up to this point has been exercise ordinary caution territory, but at number 4, reading marks the moment our countdown enters the genuine danger zone. Sitting in Berks County along the Schuylkill River, Reading was once a manufacturing powerhouse, a hub of railroads and industry so significant that it's named to a square on the classic Monopoly board. Today, its story is one of the starkest economic reversals in the entire state. The numbers climb to roughly 10.4 violent crimes and 43.8 property crimes per 1,000 residents. But the surface statistics, striking as they are, aren't the real story here. The real story lies underneath, in the brutal economic engine driving those numbers. Reading has wrestled with an unemployment rate that has climbed as high as 20%, one of only 2 cities in the state to ever cross that grim threshold. Its high school graduation rate has hovered around 65%, far below the national average, and staggeringly, nearly 40% of its residents have lived below the poverty line. Those three figures, joblessness, low educational attainment, and deep poverty, are not just background details. As you'll see in a few minutes, they are the hidden common thread stitching this entire list together. Crime in Reading concentrates heavily in the central downtown corridor, where more than a third of the city's total offenses occur, frequently intensified by regional drug distribution networks passing through. This is a town where the smart traveler treats the situation with real, sober respect, rather than casual curiosity. Traveler tip: Reading is best approached as a daytime main road pass-through, not a destination for aimless exploring. If you need fuel or a rest stop, get it on the outskirts near the highway interchanges, rather than venturing deep into the downtown core. Keep your doors locked, windows up, and your route on the primary arteries. Awareness here isn't paranoia, it's simply prudent. Next, we head west toward Pittsburgh's struggling river valley. Number 3, McKeesport. Now we travel west into the shadow of Pittsburgh, where the Monongahela River carves through a valley that once roared with the fire and thunder of American steel. This is the Mon Valley, and at its heart sits our number 3, McKeesport. To understand this town is to understand the entire arc of American industrial decline, the boom, the collapse, and the long, painful struggle to rebuild something new from the rust left behind. The figures here are sobering: roughly 11.7 violent crimes and 45.3 property crimes per 1,000 residents. McKeesport was, in its prime, a thriving city of tens of thousands, its economy built almost entirely on the mills. When those mills shuttered, the population cratered, and the jobs evaporated, leaving behind exactly the conditions we keep seeing on this list. Economic devastation paired with narcotics trafficking flowing along the river corridors and the empty spaces where industry used to stand. Whole blocks of abandoned structures became the physical scaffolding for the town's crime problem. But McKeesport's story, like so many here, is not one of surrender. It's one of a fight in progress. The Mon Valley Initiative attacked the problem at its structural root through an aggressive blight removal program, demolishing the vacant, hazardous buildings that gave crime a place to hide. The result was tangible. Crime in those cleared grids dropped by a measurable 18%. Concurrently, targeted foot patrols in the hardest-hit wards helped drive neighborhood assault numbers down. It's slow, grinding, real-world progress, the kind that doesn't make headlines but genuinely saves lives. That progress also tells you exactly where the remaining risk lives. Traveler tip: the single most important rule in McKeesport is to avoid areas dense with abandoned buildings. Statistically, these are the highest risk microzones in the entire town. Keep firmly to the main state routes as you pass through, don't linger in vacant or unlit areas, and keep your vehicle secured. Now, brace yourself. The top 2 are a genuine study in contrasts. Number 2, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, the birthplace of American independence, home of the Liberty Bell, the cheesesteak, and Rocky's triumphant run up those museum steps. Philadelphia is one of the great cities of the United States, a place every traveler should experience at least once. And yet, by the raw per capita numbers, it claims the number 2 spot on our countdown with roughly 13.9 violent crimes and 48.2 property crimes per 1,000 residents. But hold on, because Philadelphia is where our story takes its most important and most hopeful turn. Here's the plot twist, and it is genuinely a big one. Philadelphia's homicide rate recently crashed to its lowest level since the 1960s, plummeting more than 50% from its pandemic-era peak. Read that again. The most feared category of crime, the one that defines a city's reputation for decades, is in freefall, the result of aggressive violence intervention programs, specialized task forces, and community collaborations reshaping the city block by block. The Philadelphia of the headlines a few years ago is not the Philadelphia of today. So this is truly a tale of two cities. On one hand, violent crime is dropping fast and dramatically. On the other, property crime near tourist areas remains stubbornly real. Car break-ins, retail theft, and the pickpocketing that plagues virtually every major metropolis on Earth. The threat to the average visitor isn't what most people fear. It's the smashed window and the lifted wallet, not the dramatic violence of reputation. That reframing is the key to enjoying Philadelphia safely and fully. Traveler tip: absolutely visit Philadelphia. It's a world-class destination. Just treat it like any major city on the planet. Keep valuables completely out of sight in your parked car. Use well-lit, attended garages, and stay aware of your surroundings and crowded tourist zones where thieves work the distraction game. Do that, and the city rewards you richly. And now, the one town police warn about above all others. Number 150, Chester. And so we arrive at number 1, the town that consistently draws the gravest warnings from Pennsylvania law enforcement, Chester. Perched on the Delaware River just south of Philadelphia, Chester holds the tragic distinction of being one of the oldest cities in the entire state, founded before William Penn himself arrived. But centuries of history have been overshadowed by a present-day crisis so severe that it stands in a category all its own on this list. The numbers are frankly staggering. Around 16.4 violent crimes and a punishing 52.8 property crimes per 1,000 residents. Historically, Chester's violent crime rate has hovered near 1,615 per 100,000 residents, more than double that of any other city in the state besides Philadelphia. And at its darkest peak, its murder rate ran more than triple that of any other city studied. These aren't just high numbers. They're numbers that place Chester in a grim tier occupied by only a handful of American cities. The engine behind this crisis is brutally clear. An estimated 38% of Chester's violent incidents trace directly back to drug trafficking operating out of the sprawling, abandoned industrial zones along the once thriving waterfront. Decades of factory closures, one of the highest poverty rates and unemployment rates in the state, and block after block of vacant industrial ruins created the perfect storm. Chester's fighting back with modern tools. A gunshot detection system that cut emergency response times to under 90 seconds in high-risk zones, plus community security camera micro grants, but the reputation, earned over decades, remains deeply entrenched. This is the one town where the old, blunt advice truly applies, without qualification. Traveler tip: if your route takes you through Chester, this is the place to simply keep moving. Keep your doors locked and windows up. Don't stop for fuel or rest here, and take care of those needs in a neighboring community instead. Stay on the main highways and pass through with purpose. Now, the pattern that ties all 10 together.